In today's class, we are going to discuss about classification of zoonotic diseases and approaches to their management. Why we need to classify or categorize any event, or here in this case, it is a zoonotic infections. If you categorize or classify a particular thing, you will easily manage it. Say, for example, you keep your books, you keep your recreational books one side, you keep your class books at one side, notebooks at other side. If you categorize them properly, you can easily take them and access them very easily. You organize your bench in such a way that certain things are kept at opt place so that they can be made use of. Likewise, if you classify zoonosis, as I told you in one of the class, there are 1,415 human infections, of which 62% are zoonotic in nature. So 800 plus infections are shared with the animals. Understanding all 800 odd diseases becomes a difficult task. That is why we need to categorize these agents into proper category or a group and learn the insights about that particular group. And if any managemental approach that is applied to a particular infection in that group, that could be applied to other also. Just to give an example, there are something known as vector-borne viral infections. If you know the management of one particular vector-borne infection, zoonotic infection, you can very well control the other kind of vector-borne infection. That helps us. That's why we need to categorize the zoonotic infections or zoonosis into a particular category. Okay, we'll discuss in subsequent slides how to categorize these zoonotic agents. As we already learned, zoonosis means a zoon plus animal. Zoon means animal, and plus nosis means a disease. Okay, zoonosis means animal diseases. Animal diseases in its strict sense. But if you see the definition of the Joint Expert Committee of FAO WHO constituted in the year 1959, diseases and infections which are naturally transmitted between vertebrate animals and the human. These are the zoonotic infections. Zoonosis, don't, you please keep it in your mind that zoonosis does not mean only animal diseases that could be transmitted to the humans. It could be reverse also. Human diseases, animals getting infected, those are also known as the zoonotic infections only, or zoonosis. The agents of zoonotic infections are transmitted between other animals, preferably vertebrate animals and the human being in nature. Then you may ask a question that if it is occurring in a lab condition, but not in the nature, okay, is it a zoonotic infection? We will take such infections as a special category of infections, but they do not actually fall under the ambit of zoonotic infections or zoonosis. The disease agent should be naturally perpetuated under natural conditions. That is a prerequisite. And it should be communicated either from animal to the human being or human to the animal, or in both directions. Then only the agent is a zoonotic infection. Okay. The laboratory infections they are potential human pathogens. There is no doubt in that. But if it is not naturally perpetuated, we won't call that as zoonotic infections, even though we consider them as a potential threat to the human health or occupational health. So zoonotic agents, they are very large. As I told you, 800 plus. They belong to a heterogeneous group of biological agents. Say, for example, the Cashmere forest disease is caused by a virus, while trichinellosis is caused by a helminth parasite. Okay, they are very diverse. Okay, one is the parasite, which is again a microscopic one. while the other one is a virus. Likewise, some infections are caused by fungi, some are seen in the horse, some are seen in the dog, some they occur predominantly in human, some they predominantly occur in avian species. So they are very, very diverse. The agents are biologically different, the geographical locations are different, the host preference of that particular agent is different, that particular zoonotic infection is different. That is why they are very diverse, in the sense they are very heterogeneous group of infections, the zoonoses. Okay, take for example zoonotic infection dipilidiasis. Okay, the dipilidiasis is the flea, the role of the flea, that in the transmission cycle of dipilidiasis, if you see the life cycle will come to know the role that flea plays in dipilidiasis, the cow plays in teniasis. The weightage that we give to that particular host in case of dipilidiasis is equivalent to the weightage that we give in case of cow when it comes to management of zoonosis. That is why we need to categorize these zoonotic agents into different groups so that we can manage these infections in a proper way. Okay. And there is no single classification which is universally accepted and that is used for the categorization of these zoonotic agents. There are many classification schemes. They are based on certain principles. They are applied. Okay. Take for example, we can categorize zoonotic agents based on etiology. The bacterial zoonosis, viral zoonosis, fungal zoonosis, rickettsial zoonosis, prion zoonosis, likewise chlamydial zoonosis. Okay. Based on the reservoir, where the infection is maintained. Is it a particular animal species, the reservoir, or is it a human being? And from which place it is being transmitted? Again, I'm going to explain about reservoir a little later. The third and the most accepted type of categorization of zoonotic agents is based on the life cycle of the agent or based on the epidemiology of the disease. How is the life cycle of the agent? Okay, when it comes to a zoonotic infection, that's what is life cycle of the agent. Next is mode of transmission. How it is transmitted, that particular infection. Okay, based on occupation. Okay, which occupational group the zoonotic agent is going to affect. So that's the occupation. Then impact of the disease. So these are the 6 different approaches. They are used for the categorization of the zoonosis that we'll study in detail in subsequent slides. Based on etiology, as I told you, rabies, Japanese encephalitis, chikungunya, Kashmir forest disease, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, Eastern, Western, and Venezuelan equine encephalitis, Russian spring summer encephalitis. So these are all the infections that are caused invariably by a viral agent. These viral agents, they belong to different classes of the viruses. Some are DNA viruses, some are RNA viruses, some are single-stranded, some are double-stranded, but they all represent the viral etiology. Okay, I have given the Steele's number. Okay, Steele is a epidemiologist, is an eminent public health veterinarian. So he has enlisted some number. Okay, this number is not the same today. The number has enormously increased, and it is keeping on increasing. So once I discuss with you the emerging and re-emerging zoonotic infections regarding this, I will throw some more light about the numbers. Okay, at this point of time, the zoonotic infections, viral means large number of viruses, starting from pox to picorna to the ecoviruses. They are all responsible for one or the other kind of zoonotic infections. The etiology is viral. Second is bacterial. brucellosis, tuberculosis, leptospirosis, listeriosis. These are all the bacteria. The etiology of the particular zoonosis is the bacteria. That's why bacterial zoonosis. The parasitic zoonosis, various kinds of parasites. Let it be a helminthic parasite, or let it be the protozoan parasite. They associated with the human and the animal, and the transmission in one or either direction are the parasitic infections. As I told you, trichinellosis, the toxoplasmosis, larva migrans, hydatidosis, cysticercosis, the bellentidiosis, the trypanosomiasis, leishmaniosis. These are all the parasitic agents associated with the zoonosis. Fungal, large number of fungi. When we talk about the fungi, both systemic as well as the superficial kind of mycosis, dermatophytosis, cryptococcosis, histoplasmosis, these are coccidioidomycosis. These are all the large number of the fungi. The detailed discussion of that we'll have in subsequent classes. So they are associated with the human infections. The roots are in the animals. That's why they are fungal zoonosis. Rickettsial chlamydial agents and even prion agents. Large number of rickettsia. The Q fever, the scrub typhus, again, many more rickettsial agents, they are associated with the zoonosis. And the agents are rickettsia by nature. That's why rickettsial zoonosis. Chlamydial zoonosis, the prion zoonosis. These are all some of the etiological agents associated with the zoonosis. And the categorization here, a particular zoonotic infection, is whether it is a virus, whether it is a bacteria, whether it is a fungi, is it a parasite, is it a chlamydia, is it a rickettsia, or is it a prion? That categorization, this is what is the classification of zoonotic agents based on the etiology. Second kind of classification is based on the reservoir. You know reservoir? Water reservoir, you know. Okay. We do have a large number of water reservoirs. Water reservoir is a one which invariably contains water. That's what is a water reservoir is. Okay. Likewise, when it comes to the zoonotic infection and when it comes to the population, whether it is a human population or other than human population, is nothing but animal population. A basic definition of the zoonosis is, for the zoonosis to occur, there should be human population and animal population. The animal population could be a bovine, it could be avian, it could be an equine, it could be a canine. That goes with a particular zoonotic infection. So you keep it in your mind, two things. One is the reservoir. Reservoir is something wherein always some disease is present in that particular reservoir. The reservoir is a host here. Okay. Whether it is a human or other than human, means rest of the human animal species other than human are the animals. Okay. And based on the direction of the infection, invariably how the infection occurs, based on that direction, we categorize the zoonotic agents either into one of the three categories, either as anthropozoonosis, zooanthropognosis, or amphizoonosis. Okay. So what is this anthropozoonosis? Anthropology, anthropogenic. Okay. Anthropo is related to something human. Human demography, human development. This is what is anthropo, etymologically the meaning. Zoonosis, you know, zoonosis. Okay. All those infections that are towards the human being gets from the animals. Okay. All those human zoonotic infections that human being get, wherein the reservoir of infection is the animal, one or the other animal. Such infections are known as anthropozoonosis. The category of that zoonosis is anthropozoonosis. Okay, and if you see, when you compare Anthropozoonosis with the Zooanthroponosis, Amphigenesis, this is the largest group. Incidentally, many of the veterinarians and the epidemiologists, they feel that this is the one which is zoonosis. It's not so. Okay, this is the one that is zoonosis. Okay, Anthropozoonosis are the only zoonotic infections. It's not so. That's why you please refer to the definition of the Joint FAO-WHO Committee 1959. All those infections that are transmitted between the other vertebrate animals and the man, those are the zoonosis. When you see, there is no scope for the forward zoonosis or the reverse zoonosis kind of thing. Okay, all these forward zoonosis are all Anthropozoonosis. All that reverse zoonosis that you refer are nothing but Zooanthroponosis. The infections that are in either direction transmitted from animal to the human population or human to the animal population are amphigenesis, either bidirectional. Clear? So, based on the reservoir of the infection, whether it is a human population or an animal population, we categorize the zoonotic infections into three. Number one, Anthropozoonosis, such as human type of bovine type of tuberculosis. The human being gets infection from the bovines. Anthrax, human being gets infection after exposure to a anthrax affected carcass or the animal. Brucellosis, the animal handlers or those people who consume the raw products, animal products, they will get the infection after eating or after getting exposed physically to a Brucella infected animal. Glanders affected equine. Rabies affected warm-blooded animal. Q fever, the Coxiella burnetia infected small ruminant or avian species, or even food. Toxoplasmosis, same thing. Okay, this is how the infection is invariably maintained by one or the other animal in the nature. Whenever human being come in contact with such infected animals or indirect way, fomites or the vectors, they get the infection. Such infections, we call them as Anthropozoonosis. The second one is the direction is reverse here. These infections are Zooanthroponosis. Zoo means animal. Okay, Zooanthroponosis. Anthropo means human. Okay, Zooanthroponosis means all those infections invariably transmitted by the human within the human population, from one human to the other human. Animals coming accidentally in contact with the infected human being and getting the infection is known as such kind of infections, zoonotic infections are known as Zooanthroponosis. Example is human type of tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. In this case, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, if I am infected, I will infect to my family will infect our friends. If in a school, if one student is infected, they will infect to the other. Likewise, from one human being to the other human being, this infection is maintained in the human species itself. Whenever an animal comes in contact, say for example, I am a farmer, I have infected my cow. I am a pet owner, I have transmitted my infection to my pet. Under such circumstances, the disease spills to the animal population. Such infections, we call them as Zooanthroponosis. Diphtheria, same thing. Legionnaires' disease, same thing. Poliomyelitis, same thing. All these infections are maintained invariably by the human being. Animals come in contact accidentally and they will get infected. The zoonosis get transmitted to the animals. We call such types of zoonosis as Zooanthroponosis. The third category is Amphigenesis. They are equally maintained. Such kind of zoonotic infections are maintained equally in human population and the animal population, and they are transmitted in the either direction, from human to the animal and animal to the human being. We call such zoonosis as Amphigenesis. Okay. Now, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Salmonellosis, E. coli, both human also get infected Human perpetuate these organisms. Animals also get infected. They will perpetuate these infection in the nature, and they are having either directional transmissibility. We call such zoonosis as amphizoonosis. So this reservoir-based classification of zoonosis into anthropozoonosis, zooanthroponosis, amphizoonosis is based on whether the human or the animal populations maintain the infection in the nature. Okay, you can see in the picture leptospirosis, classical example of anthropozoonosis. From one dog to the other dog, a particular leptospira serotype gets transmitted. Human being comes in contact with this infected animal, and human being gets the infection. Okay, the anthropozoonosis. Majority of the times, one of the very important peculiarity of anthropozoonosis is that anthropo, mind the spelling, anthropo, okay, A-N-T-H, okay, anthropozoonosis. So the peculiarity is that from animal to the human being, whenever infection spreads, due to the proper disposal of the dead human being affected with the zoonotic infection, or due to the treatment or the management of the effective management of the case, invariably there is no human to human or human to further animal transmission that occurs. The transmission cycle ends there. Such kind of human infections, zoonotic infections acquired from the animals, but no further transmission cycle is terminated there, just like a dead-end road. Okay, no further way from there. Such kind of infections, we call them as the cul-de-sac type of infections, blind pouch. Okay, cul-de-sac, dead end type of thing. And human being under such circumstances acts as the dead end host. Okay, no more transmission from human to further another human or another animal. Zooanthroponosis. Okay, zooanthroponosis, as I explained earlier, it is mostly an infection transmitted from one human to the other human. The infection reservoir is the human population. Animals get infected. Zooanthroponosis. Amphizoonosis, whether it is a human population or the animal population, they equally carry this infection, this kind of zoonotic infections. And whenever there are chances, so there is either way from human to animal or animal to human being, transmission occurs. These are known as amphizoonosis. So categorization of the zoonotic agents based on the reservoir of infection. We do have certain animal reservoir also. There are some diseases which are very much inherent to the particular animal species. Glanders, for example, equines. So there are many infections that are very much inherent to that particular species. Brucella abortus, bovines. Okay, the leptospirosis, it's mostly of the rodents and certain pets. Salmonellosis, certain serotypes are very much specific to the cold-blooded animals. Influenza viruses, certain influenza viruses, okay, they are very much specific to the cold-blooded animals. Pig, for example, Trichinella, okay, very much specific to the swine. So likewise, certain animal species, they act as reservoirs of these infections also. This is the list that shows cattle and buffalo, anthrax, FMD, goats, brucellosis, goat pox. Okay, you can see there is a repetition of the certain diseases: camels, brucellosis, goats, brucellosis, cattle, brucellosis. But disease is same, brucellosis, but the species are different. Somewhere it is Brucella melitensis, somewhere it is Brucella abortus. Likewise, in other species, Mycobacterium tuberculosis in monkeys, Mycobacterium bovis in the cattle. So likewise, large number of infections, they are seen and they are adapted to certain species, and invariably you find those infections in those particular kinds of species, animal species. Now you come to the very important classification of the zoonotic agents, which is based on the life cycle of the agent, which is highly convincing to us because it is based on the epidemiological principles or epidemiological basis. It is according to the maintenance cycle of the agent in the nature, maintenance cycle of the infection in the nature. Okay, so life cycle of the agent or epidemiology of the disease based classification. So this is the most accepted categorization or classification of the zoonotic agents that we discuss. According to life cycle of the agent, we categorize zoonotic agents into 4 different types. 1, direct zoonosis. 2nd, cyclozoonosis. 3rd, metazoonosis. And 4th, saprozoonosis. We do have the subcategorization in these groups also. We'll discuss them in subsequent time. Then what is the difference, major difference between these 4 kinds of zoonosis classes? Okay. The major difference is that how the agent is maintained in the nature. What is the maintenance cycle and what is the epidemiology? Okay. Say for example, direct zoonosis involves only one vertebrate host species. The entire life cycle of the agent is completed in only one host species. In that particular species only, the life cycle is over, means no other additional species are required. If at all they are there, okay, well and good, fine. Okay, it is a very basic instinct of any zoonotic agent that it should infect more number of host species. Okay, direct zoonoses are those the entire life cycle of that particular agent is completed in one particular host species, and for the natural perpetuation of that particular infection in the geographical area, only one kind of host species is sufficient. Direct zoonosis. While cyclozoonosis are those kind of infections, the life cycle cannot be completed in one particular host species. Rather, they will require the more number of host species. Okay, in addition to one particular species, a minimum of one more species is required. Sometimes many more species are required. Such kind of zoonosis are cyclozoonosis. The third kind of zoonosis is metazoonosis. Unlike 1 and 2, direct and cyclo, that require only one particular kind of vertebrate species, the metazoonosis requires a minimum of one invertebrate species for the perpetuation of the disease or maintenance of the agent in the nature. Okay. The third is involvement of an invertebrate host species that is required. If invertebrate is not there, life cycle cannot continue. The disease cannot occur. A minimum of one invertebrate species is required in that particular kind of zoonosis, that is meta. Okay. The fourth, sapro. The saprozoonosis means a part of life cycle. It's a part of life cycle of the agent involved in the zoonosis, so it has to be spent in the environment. Okay, environment is a major determinant that is associated with the transmission or epidemiology of that particular zoonotic infection. Such kind of infections, we call them as saprozoonosis. Clear? Direct zoonosis, entire life cycle is completed in only one type of vertebrate host species. Cyclozoonosis, minimum of 2 species are required. Often it is more than 2. Metazoonosis, a minimum of 1 invertebrate host species is required. Saprozoonosis, the life cycle of the agent should involve an environmental stage. Let it be a soil, let it be a vegetation, somewhere in the environment that should be there. Okay, a bit more detailed discussion about direct zoonosis. They are maintained in the nature by a single vertebrate host species. They are invariably transmitted by either direct or indirect contact. They could be even airborne also. They could be vector-borne also. Okay, mechanical transmission of these agents occurs. The vector, the role of the vector that is played in the transmission of these infections is the mechanical transmission. However, no development of such agent occurs in the host. So these are all certain peculiarities associated with the direct zoonosis. This is a cartoon that depicts the direct zoonosis. Only cattle, one particular species, this cattle is only for example. This could be equine also, it could be sheep also, it could be chicken also, it could be emu also, whatever it is. It could be fish also. Okay, one species, vertebrate host species, completes its entire, that is only required for the perpetuation of that particular agent in the nature. Don't be under impression that it is the same cattle that is being affected again and again. Okay, it is that group of animals. Okay, this is cattle Gauri, this is cattle Gange, and this is cattle something Saraswati, something like that. Okay, so like this it is spread, and human being gets accidentally infected with this because if it is a anthropozoonosis, and this is the transmission that occurs. Come to the second, cyclozoonosis. Maintenance requires more than one. More than one means 2 and plus 2. Anything above 2 vertebrate host species. The classical examples are teniasis or hydatid disease. This type of zoonosis, that is cyclozoonosis, they can be further categorized into 2 based on the role of the human that is played. If the role of the human that is played is a mandatory, okay, no human, no transmission, no disease. Okay, disease will not occur if no human being is present and in that particular geographical area. Such kind of zoonosis, we call them as obligatory cyclozoonosis. Human is must for the transmission to occur. Example is Taenia saginata or Taenia solium. Taenia saginata or Taenia solium, they large or long tapeworms that are there in the human GIT. Eggs are passed in the human feces, either cattle or pig, depending on Taenia saginata or Taenia solium, they will ingest it. Okay, there is cyst in their body, muscle. Okay, so human, no transmission. That's what is obligatory cyclozoonosis. This kind of zoonosis, obligatory cyclozoonosis, are also termed as euzoonosis. In true sense, the human being acts as a definitive host, animals act as an intermediate host. In true sense, they are zoonosis. That's why euzoonosis. Don't get confused with one more type of zoonosis known as the true zoonosis. True zoonosis are different. True zoonosis are invariably ringworm or the fungal infections, wherein a human being, whenever they directly come in contact with the animals, they acquire infection. It is known as true zoonosis. Okay, even though eu means true etymologically, euzoonosis and true zoonosis are different. It is the play of the words. The second category of cyclozoonosis are type 2 cyclozoonosis. These are non-obligatory cyclozoonosis. Otherwise, they are termed as parazoonosis or paranosis. Here, human's role is accidental. Human being may or may not be involved. Okay, may or may not be involved. That's the optional. Okay, accidental infection of the human occurs. Example is hydatid disease. For perpetuation of the hydatid disease in the nature, one herbivore and one carnivore is sufficient. Example, sheep, dog, sheep. Okay, dog is a carnivore here, sheep is a herbivore here. That is sufficient for the perpetuation. It is a cyclozoonosis because 2 vertebrate host species are involved. One is the dog, other is the sheep. These are the 2 vertebrate species, and human also get infected. That's why it is a cyclozoonosis. But human may or may not be involved. That is what is parazoonosis or paranosis. Okay, is it clear? Cyclozoonosis. Cyclozoonosis means more than one vertebrate host species That is, in other words, 2 or more are required for the perpetuation in the nature, compulsorily required 2 or more. And this can be further categorized into 2: type 1, obligatory cyclozoonosis, or eugenosis, wherein human must be mandatorily involved in that. No human, no transmission. That's what it is. No disease. While type 2, non-obligatory cyclozoonosis, otherwise known as parazoonosis or paranosis, human beings' role is accidental here. Okay. This is what is the cyclozoonosis. You can see the example here: obligatory cyclozoonosis, non-obligatory cyclozoonosis. Okay.